episode of Ask an Expert. We are joined here by the one and only Jon Holling. And this week is a member video review, which, I mean, they're always a blast. So if you're here watching live, strap in with some popcorn and we're going to learn some things from Jon. We're going to watch some pretty horses and riders doing their thing. So I'm excited. Jon, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I am back in the swing of things after Tryon. I'm feeling slightly unkept, but otherwise ready to go.
You look great, and I'm glad that you had a great weekend at Tryon, and that do you have a couple weeks now to relax, or what's coming up for you?
Yeah, so I've got this week. I don't have to go anywhere this weekend. We have a local pop schooling show where I bet I see a couple of ride IQers, and then I have a clinic in Massachusetts the following weekend, and then we head up to Bromont the next week.
Wow, how long of a drive is that for you?
Uh, in a car, my phone says it should take me 22 and a half hours of drive time. So I'm figuring in my truck, because we're going to stop halfway, it's probably going to be close to 24 hours worth of driving.
Wow, where do you stop?
We're going to go up to Shannon Lily's place and spend a night there and then finish the drive.
Awesome. It's great to have
Yeah.
friends in good places.
Yeah, or at least in places halfway between the place you need to get to.
Well, yeah, that's a good place if you ask me.
Yeah, and it's right
Uh,
by Fairhill, where the Maryland 3-day is, so it's a nice location as well.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, Jon, we have 6 videos here for us to watch this evening, and or 6 different people. I think we actually might have 7 videos. So
Yeah, and rumor has it that one of the riders is not terribly good.
rumor has it that about halfway through, one of the riders is not very good, but
Yeah,
we'll
we'll see
see.
how that
We'll
goes.
get there. Uh, okay, so I'm gonna share my screen, and then I'll give you the first prompt. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Are you able to see my video screen?
Just came on. There we go. I got it.
Perfect. I'm going to put it on mute just so we don't get all the background noise. But we're going to watch Amanda first. So I'm going to press play and then I'll read through it. But I can always repeat it and repeat the video. Okay, this is Amanda Zetti, and this is from March 2025 at Ram Tap Horse Trials at Modified for their first horse trial of the season. Her pony Tucker is a 15-year-old Connemara who has brought her up the levels from novice to 1-star, and they've been in Jennifer Wooten's training program consistently since she got Tucker 6 years ago. She's been working on becoming more consistent in stadium and helping Tucker to be in a better balance. She's looking for any feedback and notes that you have for her.
All right. Well, first thing I'd say is she's in a great program with Jennifer. I know Jennifer well. We made a trip over to a World Cup final years and years and years ago, and I got to know Jennifer there. So good program. So well done. And I recognize this ring immediately. It is one of the most unique rings. It's like out of the Hunger Games with all that stuff behind it. So the first thing I'd say is I like how forward you are. You'd love, like at first glance, the first thing you think is you'd like this horse to be rounder. But that said, some horses want to carry themselves a little bit more up and out. And I have a horse right now that goes very similar to this in Kurt, as you guys may know, Fernhill Copain. He likes to go very up and out in his frame. Some horses want to go that way, and you have to sort of ride them in the balance and in the frame that they need. And it looks like we're doing a pretty good job of that here in this round. That said, I think the big thing that I notice watching this is that while the frame maybe is up and out at times, like right there in that bending line to the black and red oxer, he's fighting in the bridle a bit too much. So I think using the ends of the ring, using the cantering and sort of the show jump galloping sections of the course a little bit better. I think you want to work on that connection and that suppleness through your turns. And that's not just with the bridle and just with
Did we lose John? John, are you still there?
Uh-oh.
Oh,
I'm here. Did you
okay.
just lose me? Okay.
I lost you momentarily. I couldn't tell if it was my problem or yours.
I
I
mean,
lost.
historically speaking, it's probably mine.
I lost you kind of right after she went through the line of black and red. The line,
Okay.
like the one quarterback.
What I was saying was, I think you need to do remind me her name again. I'm terrible.
Amanda and Tucker. Is your
Amanda.
horse.
So Amanda, I think what you need to be thinking about is connection. And connection is not necessarily about round and on the bit. I've said that a lot in these Ask an Expert sessions. It's not about your horse has to be round like it's doing dressage, but you do have to feel like you have an open line of communication with your horse's mouth. And a lot of that has to do with your ride and your ability to use your seat and your leg to supple your horse's back. But there is a portion of it that also has to do with what's in your horse's mouth. Now, I'm sure in the program you're in with Jennifer, she's talked to you a lot about different things. And I would spend time sort of playing with different bits. And sometimes you go back and you try bits you've tried in the past and see, is there something that your horse is going to be a little happier with, that you can touch him and supple him and bend him and get that connection through the turns and through the end of the ring. So one thing that I've done is like spend a day where I say, okay, so today we're not going to do dressage. Today we're not going to do show jumping. We're not going to do cross country. We're not going to do fitness work. We're going to do a day where I bring out 6 or 10 bits and we're going to did you lose me again? Okay. I lost me. That's funny.
I have you.
We're gonna play.
Oh wait, actually, John, I did lose you.
What is the story?
It looks like you have stopped recording. I might have to have you. Oh, he's gone. Okay. Well, unfortunately, I can't do this on my own. Hey,
Am I
John.
back?
You're back.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're all good.
My internet's cursed.
You're all good.
We're going to yell at my kid and tell him to get off the internet. So I think you need to work. So spend a day, go out there, play with some different bits and combinations, see if that helps. But the biggest thing is I think you need to work really hard on getting a good contact, a good connection with your horse between the jumps. He's a great jumper, like a really nice jumper, has a good shape, looks like he's forward and happy and wants to go do the things. But that contact, that connection, and that can be working on lateral bend, on longitudinal bend. But I would spend a day where I would say, like, okay, look, today is about trying different bits and things to see what this horse likes and to see if you can get him a little happier in his mouth, because he just looks a little unhappy in his mouth with the contact, with the connection. And sometimes that's a life quest. Like I said, my Fernhill Copain horse, I have now settled on something, but I'd be a liar if I said, like, it's sorted. It's something you're always working towards to see if you can improve that connection and that communication.
Awesome. Well, Amanda, you and Tucker look great, and I'd love to see more videos of you guys at future video reviews. Wonderful. Thank you, John. Okay, so we have the next person up is Madeline. Let me share my screen and show you Madeline. Can you see this, John?
Yep. Got it.
Okay. So the story on Madeline is this is her show jumping round from her latest horse trial 2 weeks ago. Her horse and her moved up to novice a couple shows ago. He is so casual that she struggles with getting him forward and paying attention to his feet. She would love any feedback that you have. She said he probably won't remember this, but she met you in line for the chicken wrap at Ocala 1 this past winter, and you told her a story about gunning it out of the corner. Maybe she needs to actually put that into motion.
I remember Madeline well now, and yeah, I remember the chicken place. So let's see what we got here. So first thing I'd say is very well turned out. A gray horse is so much work, so well done you. And once you get going around the course, I actually really quite like the balance. Obviously, we had a bit of a tough jump there, but I like the balance. When you first started out, it looked very much like what I'd call huntery, which I guess I say that and it sounds a bit negative, and maybe it is, but I don't mean it to be, because there's some amazing hunters, but it just looks a little bit flat, a little bit dull, a little bit behind the leg. But once you get going to the jumps, actually, he picks up quite good. Now, the other thing I'd say is here you're on the left lead canter turning to the right. Earlier, you were on the right lead canter turning to the left. And so I think there's some basic things that we could be doing with awareness of your leads that's going to help you with your horse's balance, so you're not counter cantering around to all of the jumps. That's going to make your life a lot easier. And that doesn't mean you have to do flying changes. You can do that through simple changes. But he's actually quite a nice jumper when you get there right. Like, it's a really good jumps. Beautiful horse. Look at him. He's having fun. He loves it. He's got a little celebratory head wag at the end. So a little bit like the last horse, you need to do a little better job, particularly before your round. I think you actually could get down into the saddle and use your seat like you would a little bit for your dressage test to get your horse's back to loosen up, to soften up. That doesn't mean you need to sit down heavy, but you could probably get a little closer to the saddle so that you could soften your horse's back with your seat to then be able to ride him up through his wither into a little bit better contact and connection. All in all, I actually think this is a really nice round. I just think if you could spend a little bit of time before you started actually making sure you had a canter that you really owned, that would help you. And then other than this one spot right here where you just miss a little bit there, I actually think it was a very nice round. That could be an exceptionally good round if you corrected this flying change here with a simple change, no problem. And then again, this one here coming into this next turn, here we land left lead, and you've got so much time to help address this and fix this. And I think either you don't want to break up the canter, you're afraid he's going to get lazy on you, so you don't, or you're just not sure which lead you're on. Either way, I would recommend correcting that. I think that would help you so much, because this here, again, you have the sharp 90-degree right turn on the wrong lead. And I would say that turn there, where you made that turn, that's, to be fair, to be generous, is probably like a 20-meter quarter turn. So what I would say to you is, can you do counter canter on a 20-meter circle? Perfectly. And if the answer is no, then you need to change that lead there because you have time to do it. If you're in a related line, 6, 7, 8, even 9 strides, you probably don't have time. But in that situation there, through those ends of the ring, if you can't counter canter in the dressage ring, then certainly when you have to jump jumps, which adds a degree of difficulty to it, then you don't want to be doing it there either. The big thing I always say to people, whether it's in the counter canter to the jumps or like in jump lessons where people will come out on a 5-year-old horse and go walk canter and wonder why their horses can't do it, I'm like, well, but do you do walk canter in the dressage? Do you do counter canter on a 20-meter circle? If the answer is no, then we probably don't want to do that when we're jumping either. But again, all that said, that was actually a really nice round, other than the one related line where it looks like you hold on. Am I back?
You're back.
Where did you lose me?
All in all, it was really great. It was just like you were saying, you were wrapping up. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what I was going to say was, with the one bad jump that you had, I didn't actually count it, but I'm guessing that line was like somewhere between 6 and 9 strides at the most. That may not be enough that you want to like say, I'm going to get the 6, I'm going to get the 7, I'm going to get the 8, I'm going to get the 9. But if you know what that number is, and if you go down there and you get it, and it's supposed to be an 8, but you go, oh, I'm going to be there a 9, then you know your horse is going to get a little bit deep and is probably going to be weak, and you can be prepared for it. So if you start keeping track of those numbers in the show jumping down the lines, even up to 9 strides, and again, I don't do 9 on my young horses and be like, well, this has to be 9. But I do it because I know, okay, if my young horse Pretzel goes down a 9 by line, he goes 10. So to like get it in your head, like I have to micromanage this and make it the perfect 9. Did you lose me again? Okay, you're about to.
You're good.
But that you get down the line and you know, okay, he's going to struggle because it's a little deep, or he's going to struggle because it's a little long. And then you can be prepared for those things. And that might help you in that one jump where you had a little bit of the funny distance as well.
Love that. Awesome job, Madeline. And thanks for submitting your video. Okay, next up is the one and only Jon Holling.
God,
we're all familiar with him. Let's watch. One moment. This guy. Okay, Jon, this is you riding Keegan Oswald's horse, Nico, and this was back in March for an evaluation ride to help her decide how to price him for a sale. And she was looking for you to talk about how you approach training rides on an unknown horse.
All right.
Let's watch.
So this is actually a super nice horse. If anybody's looking for a horse, contact Keegan because it's a nice horse. Like Keegan said, she brought it to me to sort of evaluate and see what we should price it at and how the best to get the horse sold for her. So whether I'm riding one of my own horses or I'm riding a horse that's in for an evaluation or just to get a little bit of a training on it, I think the big thing I try to do is just really focus on the basics. So for me, I always try to keep a rhythm. I try to keep the horses straight. I also make sure that I try not to I don't want to impress anybody. When I was 20, I would always feel like I've got to show these people how great I am and jump really big and be really awesome. And inevitably that always gets you in trouble. The best thing to do is really focus on the basics, keep a nice rhythm, and just sort of see what does the horse need to do. Does it drift a little here? Does it drift a little there? Try not to overprotect them. Try not to make them something they're not. Try to just see who they are. And the cool thing with Nico was what I discovered very quickly was this is just a pretty genuinely good little horse. But if you go out there and you try to like be perfect, what ends up happening is you can't actually evaluate the horse. You're covering up little mistakes, little things that those horses have, and then you can't truly tell people what the horses need to work on, what they don't need to work on. You're covering it up, and depending on how good of a rider you are, the better the rider you are, the more that you can cover stuff up without even knowing that you do it. So when I get on a horse at a clinic, or like in this situation with Keegan's horse, the first thing that I do is make sure that when I put my leg on, it goes, and when I pull on my rein, it stops. Those are the two most important things. Beyond that, everything else is just icing on the cake. But if they don't do those two things, you're in big trouble. I'll never forget, years ago, I had one in a clinic in Chicago, and it was being really difficult for an older gentleman who was riding it. He was a really nice man. So I said, okay, I'll get on this horse. And I don't like to do that in clinics because it takes away time from the other participants, but it dropped him on the ground, I think, twice. And so I was like, yeah, okay, I should probably get on this one. So I got on, adjusted my stirrups, and I put my leg on to send it forward, and not hard, but put my leg on to send it forward, and the horse turned around and bit my foot, which told me immediately that I probably shouldn't go to a jump until I addressed the fact that this horse was not in front of the leg. So I spent 5 to 10 minutes just making sure that when I put my leg on, the horse went. Now, I will say you have to be careful, especially now, how you deal with that, because the way that you get a horse that doesn't go when you put your leg on is you have to use your stick. You can't use your spur. You can't use your leg because it doesn't listen to the leg. It doesn't know what the leg is. Your seat only does so much because it doesn't know what the leg is. If it doesn't know what the leg is, it certainly isn't going to know what the seat is. So you have to put your leg on, give it a little cluck, and touch it with the stick, sometimes firmly, and make sure that that horse goes. And when it goes, you have to allow it somewhere to go. But you also have to be smart, because sometimes a horse that's going to bite your foot when you put your leg on, when you do make it go, is also going to try to buck you off. So you have to play with that stuff. But I got the horse going forward, and once I got him going forward, then I got him going forward and understanding also we're going to stop. And it was very interesting, and it's been, I've been clinicking for a long time. And if I go through that process of I put my leg on, I cluck, I touch you with the stick and you go, and then when I get to the corner of the ring, I can stop. If I go through that process with a horse that either is a young horse or a difficult horse, typically I don't get into trouble when it comes time to jumping then the jumping is actually quite easy. But if you have one that's kind of pushing back against you and you get into the jumping too early, then you can get yourself into real trouble and not have any tools to get out of it. So like I had one today that came for me to jump here, similar situation to what Keegan had with her really nice horse, Nico. And I spend not a lot, but I don't rush through the flat work. It used to be when I was younger, I would rush through the flat work so that I could start jumping it because I want to jump. And now I spend time getting to know them on the flat, making sure that I can turn, I can stop, I can go. And occasionally you'll get somebody who's, and Keegan was not this way, not saying anything about Keegan, but occasionally you'll get somebody who, when you're doing that with their horses, they're kind of looking at you like, what are you doing? Well, I didn't ask you to school my horse on the flat. I asked you to jump it. But you got to have the basic flat work stuff in there. And again, not round, but once they go from the leg and once they stop, then you also have to have the ability to steer and connect like we were talking about the first two horses. And so then I work on that a little bit as well. So it's a lot of, I don't want to say dressage because it's not dressage, it's basic flat work. And once you get that, then the jumping is actually usually pretty easy. And if it's not, then the evaluation is really simple. You say, this is not a horse that you're going to get much money for, and it's not very nice. And fortunately for Keegan, her horse was actually very good, and we had a ton of fun and jumped lots of cross-country stuff and had a great time.
Honestly, Nico is awesome. So I'm glad that you got to do
He
that,
is awesome.
and you guys looked great together.
Yeah, nice horse.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Jon, for allowing us to learn from you in that way. The next video that we have is of Debbie, and I have 2 videos of her. So I'll play the first one, and then I'll share the prompt, and then I'll play the second one. So with Debbie, she is saying that this is from her lesson on Monday. Nikki is in and out of the contact, and she just can't quite figure out the best way to deal with her head bobs. She's asking you to please help her. And if it's helpful, she also wanted me to let you know that she is riding in a leather bit. Oh, we lost him. Maybe.
Hold on.
Jon, are you? Oh.
I'm here.
You are here? Oh.
I haven't gone anywhere. Can you see me now?
I can see you. Did you hear the question?
Yes, I got it.
Okay.
What I said was I love leather bits. They're really cool. They're really good.
Cool.
So did we hear how old this horse is?
She did not provide that info. And Debbie, if you
Okay.
are...
It looks like it's young-ish because it's gray and it's still got its beautiful dapples. Some of them hang on to them, but very few. So I think the first thing I would say is, like, I agree the contact and the connection is certainly the most difficult part. One thing you could do when you're not on your horse is work on lunging. Do it either with side reins or with a lungy bungee and get your horse to just accept a little bit of a contact. The other thing I would say is beware that you are not searching for the contact. So if we watch this video again, you can see you're trying really hard to have good hands, but as he gets whipping his head around and struggling with the contact, you look like you're trying to desperately maintain the contact. You don't want to catch him in the face. You don't want to drop the rein. And so then your hands, like right here, you can see, and it's a little bit tough because you're riding in black gloves, which are great because they hide what your hands do, but they also hide what your hands do, so it's hard to see. But when horses start doing this, inevitably riders start trying to, I got to catch this, I got to catch that, and you're trying to close these doors. If you imagine that you had like a hunting breastplate on and you have that strap that goes over the front of the saddle or just in front of the saddle over the withers, it creates a box where those straps go back to your D-rings, and you want your hands to stay right in there. But you can see even here as you're posting and you get the window behind you, your hands post a little bit with you. Now, I guess I'm being a little bit critical. You need to have better hands. But also, when your horse starts moving around, don't get suckered into, I've got to supple it, I've got to push it rounder, I've got to find that contact. I've got to make him be softer. What you have to do is keep your hands very still, very steady, and wait for your horse to come to you. Now, that's a super easy thing to say and a really difficult thing to do because you're riding around. You've got somebody videoing you who you don't want to be, whether you consciously or subconsciously, you don't want them to be like watching you and be like, oh my God, look at those hands, right? So you start trying to fix things. Or, oh my God, she can't even get her horse round. So you start trying to fix things. You have to get into your own little world, keep your hands very steady, very still, and allow your horse to find the contact to you. As I was saying, I love leather bits. Not every horse loves leather bits. So if you find like after another period of time, whether that's a few rides or a few weeks, that just isn't doing it, play around with the bits too, because you might find something that your horse likes better. Sometimes those bits, the leather bits, can be really abrasive and they'll actually rub the corners of the horse's mouths. So will plastic bits. Some horses are better in metal, some are better in leather, some are better. So play around with that a little bit too, and don't be shy, like I was saying earlier, to spend the day where you just play with bits. But I actually think doing some lunging in either a lungy bungee or side reins would actually give you a lot of info into what your horse likes. Because I think if you put it in side reins or in the lungy bungee in that bit, and all of a sudden it goes perfectly round and just sits on the end of the reins, then you go, right, so either my horse is behind the leg and I can't get it out to the contact because it's not going forward and I'm having to fight to kick it all the time, or I need to be better with my hands and keep my hands in that box for my breastplate to make sure that it starts to accept the contact. And the truth is, it's probably a little bit of both. We've also talked a little bit in one of these Ask an Experts or video reviews in the past about the EquiCube. And that, I don't know if they're easy to get anymore, but that's actually a really good tool because it gives you an idea of what the contact should be. I will tell you, if you try it, you will not keep your horse round. It'll be horrendous for a while. And you're gonna be like, John's an idiot, this sucks. But it does put your hands right where they're supposed to be, right here. There's some really good training aids. I know there's a bunch of companies out there who sell some different training aids and hands, and we've used the handle things where there's like a handle on your rein. All that stuff can really help to get you to start to get a feel for what the contact is. I would stay away from draw reins. I would stay away from side reins while you're on. Side reins while you're on, I really don't like, because if the horse hits them, they can panic and go backwards and go up, and you can cause all kinds of problems. Draw reins, I'm not anti-draw rein. I have several sets, but in the wrong hands or in inexperienced hands, or with the horse that likes to get a little bit too round, they can just cause more problems than they're worth. So just be careful with that. But I would say, if I were you, I would probably lunge it in that bit and see, does the horse like that bit on the lunge? And if it does, then that is probably where you want to go. But if he's fighting with the bit the whole time, then you might try a different bit as well.
Testing the bit on the lunge is a really good idea. I think that's brilliant, John.
Yeah, and one last thing I'll say is, if you haven't lunged that horse, make sure you get somebody who's experienced lunging or that you have experienced lunging. And if you've never lunged it, don't lunge it in your saddle, because if it panics and it goes up and flips over, usually the horses are usually okay. Your saddles usually are not. And I mean, saddles are like between $7,000 and $10,000 now. So like, put it in. First of all, if you're going to do side reins, keep them really loose so that your horse doesn't panic. Make sure you have experience doing it, or that you're with somebody who does. But the first couple lunges, I never put them in a saddle, or if I do, I have like my lunging saddle, which is about 30 years old, and we start them in that, so that if there's a problem, I'm not out 10 grand.
That would be an expensive lunge.
Yeah, I've done it once. It sucked.
Eesh. Yeah, not something you do twice, hopefully.
Mm-mm.
Wonderful. Well, Nikki is gorgeous, so
Absolutely.
definitely report back, Debbie. We really loved watching you guys. Okay, next up is Courtney. Let me show you my video of Courtney. Okay. Courtney is saying that this is her riding her horse, Bourbon, who is 15 two hands, 23-year-old appendix gelding. She's curious to hear some thoughts on her riding and how Bourbon and she look as a pair, because she feels like they look a little funky at times, with her being 5'10 and him being a small 15 two-hand dude. This video is of one of her dressage tests she did as part of Valerie Pride's tune-ups from last summer. She trains with Valerie, and she has been a miracle worker for Bourbon and her the past 5 years that they've been working with her. She once described Bourbon and Courtney as an old married couple, which she thinks will be able to kind of see that partnership in the video. And that's something she's really proud of. She also included at the end of this video a quick clip of her at a cross-country school from last year, because she knows her jumping position needs improvement, and she'd love to hear what she needs to do to fix it.
All right. So first thing I'd say before we get to like rider size, which by the way, you don't look tall on Bourbon. You look tall, but not ridiculously tall. The thing I love about this is what we were talking about earlier, which is you have such a good connection, right? Bourbon is on the end of the rein. It would be tempting for some people to like say, Bourbon needs to be rounder. She needs to be more up. She needs to be more through and start really pressuring this. And I think that would be the wrong thing to do. You have to give this time. Yes, in the end, you'd love Bourbon to be a little bit more uphill. You'd love to have a little shorter frame, shorter outline from tail to bridle, but you have to be progressive about that. And if you're going to start working on that, I think you want to do it through transitions, not through cranking your horse in, which if you're riding with Valerie, you are in great hands that way. And she's doing an amazing job with you. So you are a very lucky girl. As far as your initial question about like being a little bit self-conscious about the size of your horse and your height, I will take you to Exhibit A, which is Mark Todd and Charisma, which was a tiny little horse that actually Kyle Carter went and saw one time when he was looking for sale horses. I don't think Charisma was for sale at the time, but he saw this little tiny pony. He tells a great story. I'll try to get him to tell it sometime. But he saw this little tiny pony under a pile of rugs, and he laughed at it. And then Mark told him, yeah, that's Charisma. And then Kyle thought, it is tiny. So don't worry about that. I've ridden some really small horses as well. I had a horse named Downtown Harrison who I was way too big for and did some really fun things with. So you're fine that way. Definitely don't worry about it. I love the harmony that you guys have. You look happy together. I think the analogy of an old married couple is a really good one, but you probably get along even better than an old married couple because you guys look totally content and smooth and elastic and like a team, which I love. I think that's really great. And again, over time, yes, you'd like to get a little more engagement. You'd love to have Bourbon sitting back on her. I'm assuming it's a her, but it could be a him. On him, to gelding. Of course, it is always be Bourbon. So you'd love to get him a little bit more back on his hocks, a little bit more through, but that's got to take some time. All right, here we go. We're jumping. So I like that you came through that turn and you were going down the hill and you were in the saddle, sort of using your body position to help balance him. I think that was very good. So I think one thing over time that could probably help you is you could ride with a little shorter stirrup on the cross country. So depending on if you ride in the same saddle to show jump and cross country, typically you're going to ride 2, maybe 3 holes shorter cross country than you are show jumping. And that is because you want to be able to get up out of the saddle for the gallops. Now, when you're riding at the lower levels or on a younger horse, sometimes you'll ride a little bit longer because the horses want to deke a little left or a little right to get away from you. And you don't also have to be galloping 700 meters a minute like the guys at Kentucky between the jumps. But if you could get a little shorter stirrup, a little more bend in your knee, then you're going to be able to be a little bit more forward in your upper body. So if you think about it, if you stand straight up, right, and you go to do like a squat, you're not going to just squat straight down like that. You have to have angles. So as you're, it's hard because can't stand up here, but if you imagine if you're like doing an air squat, when you do an air squat, you have to lean forward with your upper body to be able to maintain your balance and keep your weight in your heel as you go down into the squat and you stand back up. So the shorter your stirrup, the more forward your upper body can be. The deeper you squat, the more forward your upper body can be, not because I want you to be forward, but because I want you to be balanced. So because you have a stirrup on cross country that's a little bit what I would say on the longer side, then your upper body has to be more tall and upright in the air over the fence, which can then get you to fall behind the motion a little bit, which is the one thing that I'm guessing happens to you. And as a coach, it's such a safe thing to be like, yeah, it's fine, just stay in the back seat. You're going to be safe, right? But every time you do that, you take away a little bit of energy, a little bit of momentum, a little bit of desire from your horse when you jump, and it has to pull you over the jump. You want to be with the motion. I think you're maybe just a little behind the motion. And if you just played a little bit with your coach, with Valerie, a little bit with maybe a shorter stirrup, that might, and don't tell her I said you have to do this, tell her I said it might help you be able to be a little bit more with the motion in the air over the fence. And then practice cantering around the field, right? Don't just shorten up your stirrups and be like, let's go jump. Shorten up your stirrups and practice. Can you gallop off out of the saddle? Is Bourbon going to be happy with that? Can you then stretch tall, get back down into the saddle? Can you still sit in the saddle and use your seat and your leg to soften Bourbon's back and top line? And then can you get out of the saddle again? Just think a little shorter stirrup would probably help you a fair bit with your position and help some of the things that you're seeing where you're probably thinking like, not quite sure what's wrong with my position when I'm jumping, but it's something. And I think it's that you're not quite centered. You're a little behind the motion the whole time.
Awesome. Well, great submission, Courtney. Love seeing Courtney and Bourbon. And yeah, I agree. They look like a very happy pair together. So that's always fun to see. Okay. Next, and saving a great one for last, is the one and only Lee. So I'm going to pull Lee up. And this is a video from her show jumping from a novice combined training at a local schooling show. She's just looking for any comments that you have from this round. She says they've been working on the forward, but have are almost too much forward. Smiley face.
Yeah, it's nice and forward for sure. I like that. And it looks like a pretty good connection as we came around to the first couple of jumps. Yeah, so you can see there the third jump that we had, it was just a little bit open and probably needed a little support. Got better there as you went. It's a nice course. Love all the rollback turns. All right, so that was a 5.5 down the diagonal line, and I'm going to ask, which I won't get an answer for, but you'll know the answer, so you can answer it to yourself. Did you know what the number was there? Was it 5? Was it 6? And whichever it was, did you know where you were so that you could help in that last stride? Or were you just like, we're just going to go forward and keep a rhythm and hope for the best? Again, I don't think in our jumper courses for eventing or even lower level jumping courses that it really is like a big deal if you get 5 and a 5 or 6 and a 6, but it is a big deal if you know. Because if that was, so you went 5.5. So if that was a 6 stride, which I'm guessing it was from what you've told me, then you know when you leave that line, if you knew, oh, I got there in 5.5, then you instantly know, yep, going too fast. Stride is too big. Need to slow down. If it's a 5 stride and you get 5.5, then you go, all right, this feels really quick, but actually I'm not even covering a 12-foot stride, so I need to go forward and balance my horse. Because you had a 2 stride coming up later that actually you rode beautifully, by the way. But just keep track of those longer distances because they give you so much information as to what's happening with your canter underneath you so that you can then fix things as you go. I agree. Looks nice and forward. I love the balance. I like the connection a lot. I thought that was all really, really nice. The other thing I would say is don't be afraid to maintain contact all the way to the takeoff point. So if you're cantering into a fence and you know that last stride is going to be short. So let's say, for argument's sake, you're on a 12-foot stride, which you probably weren't. You probably were on like a 13-foot stride because it looked a little forward. But let's say you're on a 12-foot stride, and then you go in, and the last stride becomes a 10-foot stride. If you were cantering in a field on a 12-foot stride, and I said, okay, right now, you give me a 10-foot stride, would you
We lost him at such a good moment. John, we lost you right now. Give me a 10-foot stride.
Okay. Can you see me now?
I can see you and hear you.
Okay. I'm nervous because it says it's trying to reconnect. Am I still here?
You're still here, yeah.
Okay. So if I said to you, as you were cantering across the field and you're on a 12-foot stride, that now suddenly, boom, like that, give me a 10-foot stride, would you loop the rein and go crest release to get a 10-foot stride, or would you take the rein, close your leg, and push your horse up and together? Okay, it's not even a trick question because we know the answer is you would close your leg, squeeze the rein, take a little bit of a feel, and give me a 10-foot stride. Or you'd be like, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. One of those three things would happen, in which case you'd knock down the pole. But the point is, don't be afraid, especially when you're riding forward, that in that last stride, you might have to close your leg if you see a deep distance and say, oh, it's deep, and close your leg and squeeze the rein. And then when your horse leaves the ground, then you soften and allow your horse to jump, right? But we get so worried, and it's good. We get so worried we don't want to catch our horses in the face that we just make a different mistake, which is abandon our horses and drop them when they need us the most. So think of it as the analogy of if you're crossing the street with a kid, right? And you're holding your kid's hand and there's lots of traffic. You're going to have a firm grip on your kid, right? And you're going to walk across. You're not going to be crushing your kid's hand, but you're going to have a good firm hold. And if your kid tries to run off, you're not going to be like, oh, okay, and just let go of the kid. You're going to grab that hand a little more firmly and be like, no, stay here with me. Don't run off. Wait for me. And you're going to squeeze a little bit more firmly. You're not going to crush it because it's a little kid, right? And your horse's mouth is sensitive, so you're not going to crush your horse's mouth, but you're going to take a feel and be like, whoa, here, Poncho, slow down a little bit, collect, hold yourself together, and give your horse that support. So while it's good that we want to be soft at the point of takeoff, I think to the one fence off, I think it was off the right turn there, their third fence, you want to just, I think that's what if I remember it correctly. If I got it wrong, you know what I mean. In that situation where you see that little bit of an awkward deep distance, support your horse in the last stride. Don't panic and go, oh, I'm not sure what we're going to do. And if you're wrong, you'll learn from it, right? We learn from mistakes. That's the best way that we learn. So all in all, though, nice forward round. And everybody, except for that one guy at my place, rode really well in all their videos today.
John, you looked great as well.
No, thank you. I was fishing for a compliment.
Fishing for compliments. Everyone did look really great, and honestly, Lee, I love to see Lee ride, and I love to see a forward show jumping round too. I feel like that's a good place to start from. So,
yeah. Can I say something, Kinsey?
Please go ahead. The floor is yours.
I mean, I've been saying all kinds of things, but I just wanted to say, because this is my first chance, like in one of these since Kentucky, to say thank you to you and Jessa and Kyle and Jen, because Kentucky was so much fun. I had the best time coming over to the booth, and even doing the course walk with Kyle was moderately entertaining. It'd be better if Kyle were nicer to me, but otherwise it was really fun. I don't know if any of the people that are on here today right now at this moment were there, but hopefully everybody who was will watch this on all the social media stuff and on the Facebook group. But it was really super fun. So for those that were there and came along on the walks and came and stopped by the booth, thank you for being there. And for those who weren't, you should be there next year because it was really fun. And it was so cool seeing all the Ride IQ gear and having people from Ride IQ come up and say hello to me when I was walking around. And it was really fun. So seriously, Kinsey, thank you for everything. And I had a great time.
Well, Jon, I appreciate you saying that because, I mean, right back at you. Like, I mean, you and Kyle and Jen, you guys brought the energy, and that totally set the tone for the weekend. And I had a blast. I know Skylar had a blast. And like the members brought the energy too. So I think part of that starts from you guys, though. The kind of enthusiasm you brought to the course walk and the amount of feedback I got on the course walk and how much people loved it it was awesome. So definitely repeating a lot of that next year, and the games of the booth were super fun, a little chaotic, but really fun, and it had a great time. And I think we might have lost Jon, so perfect timing. Either that or he has completely frozen. I think we were wrapping up. Oh, Jon, I have you back.
I'm back. The last thing I just wanted to say, because I know you're wrapping up, was you never announced who was the champion of all of the games.
I mean, I feel like we were all losers. We were all winners. I mean, I don't think you won.
This is ridiculous. I feel like
if you want me to announce here for everyone to hear that you did win, I'm happy to do that.
Well, now it seems like cheapened.
I mean, Jen won the first. Jen and you. Oh, you were her partner. You guys won the full. Okay, so you guys won the first round, and then you guys tied for the Jeopardy. So that's I guess maybe you did win. I think if you didn't win, you tied with Jen.
So I beat Kyle. You did
beat Kyle. You for sure beat Kyle. I think Kyle lost every round.
It's almost like it was fixed.
It wasn't. That's the fun part. Well, great reminder. You guys did win, and you can choose what Kyle has to do as the person who didn't win.
Oh, I like this. I'll have to give that some thought. Maybe we'll get some suggestions from the membership.
Yeah, definitely let us know if you have any requests for what Kyle should have to do as the loser of the weekend. But I mean, honestly, I was wrong. We aren't all losers. We were all winners because we had fun. I think I did. Oh, no, I didn't lose you again. Okay. Well, Jon, on that note, I really, really appreciate you taking the time and watching these videos with us and sharing your expertise. I know I get a lot out of it. I know our members get a lot out of it. So thank you so much for doing that. And all our members who do submit your videos, thank you for doing that. I know it's not easy to do that. It takes guts to put your video out there, and I hope that it's a valuable opportunity for you. And I know that we all learn from it as well. So thank you guys. And with that, have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thanks so much, Jon. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.